Hey guys, what's going on? Steven back again, and I'm back with another 40K video from Major Kill. And the topic for today's video is, how powerful did Horus actually get? I'm guessing near the end, when he was going toe-to-toe with the Emperor, the Chaos Gods probably gave him a major buff. Because let's be honest, what did they really have that could have gone toe-to-toe with the Emperor? Greater demons, I'm pretty sure those are no match for the Emperor. Demon princes, probably the same exact thing. You know, yes, Primarchs are powerful, more powerful than Space Marines. Obviously, I don't know the scale. You know, are Primarchs 10 times more powerful than Space Marines, 20 times more powerful than Space Marines, and then, of course, how much more powerful is the Emperor over a Primarch? 20 times? 50 times? I don't know, you know? So I'm guessing, yeah, the Chaos Gods had to give Horus a lot of power to go toe-to-toe with the Emperor. Because there was a video I watched a long time ago. I don't know if it was fan fiction or not, or if it was actually stuff from one of the books, but it was describing the actual fight between Horus and the Emperor. And that was apparently a very brutal fight. Once again, like I said, I don't know if it was fan fiction or if it was actually in one of the books, but it was talking about, like, you know, the fight between Horus and the Emperor. I forget how it went. I think, like, Horus hit, like, the Emperor in, like, the face, and, like, half of, like, his face was just, like, falling off. You know, he apparently, like, ripped off his arm, you know, which explains, you know, one of the famous, you know, Emperor pictures with the, you know, with his, like, arm and stuff like that. Yeah, it was just a brutal, violent, probably horrific, you know, fight. Once again, like I said, I don't know if that's fan fiction or if that was actually pulled, you know, from an actual book. I don't know. But yeah, for him to go toe-to-toe with the Emperor, the Chaos Gods probably gave Horus, like, a lot more power, I think, than they normally would for, like, a greater demon or a demon prince or something like that, you know? That's my guess, you know? I could be wrong. I don't know. But anyways, let's get on to the video and, yeah, find out how powerful Horus actually got. Here we go.
G'day guys and gal. All the Primarchs got a power boost of the heresy in some way or another, other than Ferris, who lost about a head of height. Sanguinis lost his first fight to Kabunda, only to absolutely whoop his ass during the Siege of Terra. Corvus Corax started out kicking Lorgar's ass during the Isfahan Dropside Massacre, to then once again kick Lorgar's ass after the heresy, despite Lorgar ascending and becoming notably more powerful. However, the one Primarch who power boosted above the rest was Horus. He was already known as a vicious fighter and arguably one of the best, even before he drank the Chaos Kool-Aid. But just how powerful did he get, actually? Was he actually more powerful than the Emperor by the end of the heresy, and at which points did he gain these power boosts? What the hell was that? Let's go investigate.
For fuck's sake. Chris, there's more dioramas to build. God damn it. What's this?
Major Kill, if you're seeing this, I'm already dead. I've had enough. I can't do it any longer. I'm building dioramas constantly. I have no food, no order. I'm done.
Just keep huffing glue. You'll be fine.
Members. I didn't even get to see who won. How do you expect me to do this? How? I'm tapping out. You have to find somebody else.
Just keep huffing glue.
Tell
You'll
them
be
I'm
fine.
sorry.
Alrighty then. Guess it's better time to make another one. Come on.
Okay, he actually went all out for
number
this.
732. Sorry, Chris. We've got some building to do. Please make your way over here. We're going to make such incredible things together.
Okay, well, with this new iteration of Chris back in action and without the baggage of the previous iteration, I thought I'd give some context. Every month we build a new diorama and give it away to our Dice Dioramas community. This month's diorama giveaway, which we're actually giving away this Sunday, is the epic duel between Horus and Sanguinius at the end of the Siege of Terra. Everything is pro-painted and custom, with the terrain getting hand-modeled for this. Horus and Sanguinius were also pro-painted by the legendary Sodrag, and next month's diorama is Magnus vs Lehman during the Fall of Prospero. That's not all. We're also giving away a Space Elf Titan valued at $400,
that's
a True
pretty
Style
cool
King Orc
looking,
valued
not
at
gonna lie,
$200,
that looks
and even a
badass.
1/6 scale Biggie statue valued at $2,000. The best part is that for the Biggie statue, every member gets one entry, so a bronze member has the same chance of winning it as a mythic member does. It's going to be a huge live stream of
That's
giveaways,
pretty
so make sure
cool.
you join Dice Dioramas
Not gonna
today,
lie.
or just get a one-time payment membership.
I always
boost for your
enjoy
chance to
seeing
win a one-of-one
dioramas.
diorama or one of these big-ass expensive models. Link is below. Today we'll go over the power of Horus, detailing each time he got a power boost, how powerful he got, some demonstrations of this power, and if he actually did get more powerful than the Emperor by the end. Let's get into it. All Primarchs were more or less credited to be equal in potential. It wasn't like the Biggie deliberately jizzed less in Lorgar's test tube than he did in Sanguinius's. Some were going to be greater warriors, some were going to be better commanders, and so on. But all of them would have their strengths.
Gotta have a
Horus
variety.
was extremely well-rounded. He didn't have the psychic power of Magnus, nor the invisibility of Corvus, or the invulnerability of Vulcan. However, he was a very strong, brilliant commander, unbelievably charismatic,
So he was good
and an incredibly
overall.
skilled warrior. Only Gilliman matched him in this versatility of strengths, with the Ultramarines and the Lunar Wolves being fiercely competitive as their tally of victories were on par. Horus was favoured by the Emperor and was granted the title of War Master. Sure, there are some theories that this was done for some unwholesome ulterior motives, but if we just take it at face value, it means that the Emperor thought Horus was the best Primarch for the job. At this point, I would say that Horus could beat most of his brothers in a fight, with Sanguinius, Vulcan, the Lion, Russ and Angron being the only ones where it would be a toss-up. For all intents and purposes, he was in his base form. However, his base form was very mighty. When Horus was struck down by the Chaos Knife and entered a coma, he received a small but noticeable power boost when he awoke. This was an infusion of Chaos power that gave him a greater, more intimidating presence. He wasn't yet radiating power like some kind of god yet, but the difference was profound. At this point, he was above the rest of his brothers by maybe one or two. He also hadn't begun
so that's not
suffering the
too
mental
bad.
deterioration that came with embracing Chaos yet, a deterioration that would cost him dearly. Horus knew that the heresy would end in a showdown with the Emperor. That is why he was seeking so much power, and that is why when he reached Terra, he did not destroy the planet and instantly win the war. He knew that the only way to truly win and cement his legitimacy as the new ruler of mankind would be to have a mortal combat match with Daddy, something Perturabo found super fucking annoying and impractical. Horus was actually nearly assassinated during this time by some advanced aircraft sent by Shadrach Medusan.
Really?
He, Fulgrim and Mortarion were attacked and suffered great wounds before taking the aircraft down, showing he was still vulnerable to physical weapons at this point. Horus recalled that the Emperor gained a lot of power after he visited the world of Molech. Using his knowledge of the warp, demonic forces, and his own blanked memory, Horus knew he had to go to Molech and take this power for himself. He launched a massive invasion of the heavily defended world and once again nearly died. He was confronted by the lead knight of House Divine who fired a deadly lance bolt at him, the kind of weapon that would melt a hole in a Primarch and genuinely kill them. Before the bolt struck, Horus's Luperci, which were possessed sons of Horus Marines, formed a shield around him.
That is one powerful weapon.
Horus literally remarked in surprise, "I should be dead." Horus's tactical brilliance would shine during the war on Molech, using Mortarion and Fulgrim to great effect to crush the Imperial force. He made his way to the Molech portal and stepped into it. Here he would spend the next few thousand years fighting in vicious wars in the warp, leading the armies of Chaos against each other to prove his worth. To Horus, it felt like forever. In real space, it had only been like 30 seconds or so. When he finally received all of their blessings after proving himself to all four Chaos gods, he returned, notably aged, and was shocked to see his sons, not realizing it had only been seconds for them. After this, Horus was greatly changed. He had gained immense power and knowledge, however one thing held him back from achieving his true power. That being that Horus did not want to become a meat suit puppet for Chaos. A part of his soul remained in the warp, fighting off the Chaos gods, while another part was in real space. His halfway commitment angered the Chaos gods, who were trying to force Horus to submit to them. This turmoil weakened Horus in some ways, although he did remain very strong. His power would be tested when Leman Russ and the Space Wolves surprise attacked Horus's fleet. Leman came face to face with his brother and they battled. It was actually quite even. Leman empowered by the Emperor's spear, Horus empowered by the Chaos Kool-Aid. Horus was stated to be the more powerful one, however power isn't everything, with Leman managing to pull a fast one and shank Horus with the spear. The spear had a special ability which forced the person stabbed to face the truth. The touch of Chaos was temporarily banished, as Horus was freed from its grip. However, even with his insanity banished, Horus was still a traitor and committed to his cause, although he was horrified about how far he had gone. This clarity did not last long though, and more so served to make Leman hesitate and not finish Horus off, as the power of Chaos flooded back into Horus and then he beat Leman into a pulp, remarking that he was impressed
That's
that
pretty
Lehman
crazy
had been his
that he
mercy.
got
Before
like
the
a
Wolf King
moment
could
of
be
like
slain, the Space Wolves
clarity
sacrificed
of
themselves
like,
in great number to get their lord to safety.
this is
During
what
the
you're
duel,
doing.
it wasn't like Horus was this dominant force and Russ was this bitch. They both fought like demigods of old, similar to Russ's fight with Magnus. Horus had the raw power advantage, but it wasn't enough for him to dominate, and technically Lehman did win in regards to striking the first decisive blow. The wound from the Emperor's spear would plague Horus for most of the heresy. Sometimes he would randomly begin bleeding and then he would pass out and be in a coma for a while. This caused a lot of delays for the traders who were trying to handle Horus being out of action half the time. Even when Malagur sacrificed himself to kill the shard of Horus that still fought against the Chaos Gods in the Warp, thus allowing Horus to be whole, Horus still wasn't quite right. He would still pass out bleeding from the wound Lehman gave him here and there, and he would spend a lot of time in non-responsive comas, where he attempted to psychically attack the Emperor, resulting in him getting his ass whooped every time. He was much more of a puppet for Chaos, embracing the teachers of the Word Bearers and spending a lot of time
that is one impressive
Sometimes he would even look reptilian, with sharp teeth, a mouth way too wide, and reptilian eyes. Other times he would appear as himself and how his sons remembered him. As Horus's body swelled with power, his brain degraded. Sure, he was still tactically brilliant and showed off a lot of insane feats of commanding abilities during the siege, but he also started to become incredibly deranged and delusional. Even his legendary Primarch body wasn't enough to contain the power of Chaos without consequence. I also firmly believe that he never really recovered from the wound Lehman dealt him. Perhaps without it, he could have maintained his sanity as his power grew, but with the wound, he just couldn't keep his shit together. Horus wouldn't really get involved much in the siege directly, choosing to sit on his throne and command the war effort while communing with the gods and sending the Emperor rage texts. However, the defenders had done a good job. They had held off the traders long enough for Guilliman to arrive. The trader armies were smashed and barely holding on. G-Man, with the Lion and Rust not far behind, would spit roast the shit out of them. When the Astronomicon was relit and G-Man finally had a clear path to Terra, something the Emperor wasn't aware of due to all the interference, Horus lowered the shields of the Vengeful Spirit, which would allow the Emperor and his strike force to teleport on board. Chaos fucked with the teleport,
this is where the fight began.
putting Valdor in one part of the ship, Dawn in some shitty pocket dimension, Sanguinius close to Horus, and the Emperor as far away as possible. Horus was insanely powerful by this point, even bringing back the spirit of Ferris to guide Sanguinius as a way of being like, look what I can do. Whilst the Vengeful Spirit itself was more or less a conduit of Horus's will, he even managed to possess some of the Emperor's custodies and force them to attack the Master of Mankind, something that has never been done before or since. When Horus and Sanguinius faced off, Horus in his delusion tried to recruit Sangi, even depowering himself to be more relatable. The two brothers fought, Primarch to Primarch, and despite Sanguinius being wounded by Angron, not having the Spear of Telesto, and overall just being an exhausted mess, Sanguinius still won, striking Horus down and then swinging for the killing blow. However, Horus reactivated his true Chaos-given power and he managed to deflect the strike. In his Chaos-ascended form, the fight became extremely one-sided. Sanguinius still fought his heart out, with Horus actually being shocked that Sanguinius managed to dodge his strikes a few times and continue fighting, despite Horus being in his god form. Horus soon managed to slay Sanguinius, his current power level way higher than a normal Primarch. No Primarch would be able to stand before him, even the unkillable Vulcan would stand a chance. So that brings us to Horus's duel with the Emperor. Originally, the Emperor was like, fuck it, and started ascending to become the Dark King, a new Chaos God who would be so powerful that he would easily defeat Horus in a fight. However, the consequences of this would likely destroy the galaxy, so he was talked down from ascending. Instead, he had to fight Horus in his normal Emperor form. It's unclear if he was depowered from the years spent on the Golden Throne, or if he was peak power and ready to go, but it's the only reference we have. When the Emperor and Horus fought, it's made clear that in terms of raw power, Horus was greater. He was infused with the power of all four Chaos Gods. However, the Emperor was significantly craftier and more skilled, using tricks and finesse to counter Horus's raw power. However, even with his craftiness, the Emperor couldn't have beaten
Chaos
Horus
Gods empowering one person.
Alanis, Litu, and Garviel Loken, who all had their small parts to play. Horus was finally defeated when the Emperor summoned an illusion of Garviel, which broke through Horus's delusion and made him dispel his power. With a depowered Horus, the Emperor struck, driving a Chaos Knife into Horus and slaying him. Horus being mostly glad to be released from life and given the sweet embrace of death. We do get a lot of Horus's POV during this fight, and it really just shows how unhinged and unstable he was. It honestly didn't seem like Horus had much time either. Either his brain was going to melt or his body was going to explode from containing so much power. That's kind of how it goes with Chaos. So focused on raw power. That's why Loyalist Primarchs often beat Demon Primarchs, despite the Demon Primarchs objectively being more powerful. So that begs the question, just how powerful is Horus really?
Didn't know that.
Well, if we ignore the weaknesses and vulnerabilities he develops, Horus was really, really fucking powerful. He was basically a meat suit conduit for the full might of Chaos and could easily beat any Primarch. He also overpowered the Emperor and only actually lost due to the Emperor being a cheeky dog. We're still yet to see anyone come close to how mighty Horus was at the end of the heresy. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then join the Dice
how powerful he got.
Chance to win a Horus for Sanguinius diorama, a 1/6 scale Big E, a Space Elf Titan, or a True Scale King Orc, along with many other benefits. Hit the subscribe button, hit the subscribe button for more bold content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Okay, so there we go. So that's how powerful Horus got. That's impressive. I mean, not really too surprising, you know, because he's being empowered by 4 chaos gods all in one. So yeah, obviously, if you're getting power from 4 different entities, you know, yeah, you're gonna get a massive power boost. But yeah, just to see him that powerful, but you know, with him degrading from just all that power and stuff like that, that's insane. That's insane. This battle here would have been something to see, you know. I doubt, you know, we get like that, like an Amazon show or a movie. I mean, it'd be really cool to actually see this scene play out and stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty insane, you know, just the raw power of Horus being infused by all 4 chaos gods. I mean, it was basically like they're like their one chance to like take the Emperor out, basically. So obviously they needed to, you know, like, this is the guy, this is like our only person who has like a chance to do it. We have to give him like everything we have so he becomes strong enough to, you know, take out the Emperor, which, I mean, basically yes, you know, because if not, and you know, the Emperor survived, yeah, the whole different scenario, whole different story if the Emperor, you know, just regularly survived, you know. So yeah, that's absolutely crazy, man. All right, so there we go. There's the video. That is how powerful Horus actually got. Yeah, he got a massive buff, and I didn't know about that wound. You know, the wound he suffered from rust and stuff like that from that spear. That's pretty interesting. Like, that spear just like took away all the chaos corruption, and for like a moment, like, he was himself. To see, like, look around, look at what you've, you know, become, look at what you've done, you know. And then of course to have that wound still lingering and taking him out and putting him in like comas for like time on end, you know, is just pretty insane to think. So yeah, that's very interesting, very cool actually, you know. But yeah, I might have to watch that video to see if they go more in depth about that fight, and you know, like like I said, I don't know if it was fan fiction or not, but like Horus ripping off like the Emperor's arm and, like, you know, I think smashing him in the face with the mace and stuff like that, which I believe is why he's got like that red, whatever you want to call it, over his eye, because like half his face was like, you know, just, you know. Yeah, let me know if that was fan fiction, or was that actually in one of the books. Did they go into like details of this fight here, you know, like sword, mace clashing and stuff like that, and power claw, you know, ripping at, you know, the Emperor's armor, slashing it open, and, you know, just going into full detail? Let me know, because I'd be very curious about that. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. That'd be awesome. Remember, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media. Links in the description box below. And other than that, just stick around. More videos are on the way. And I will see you guys next time.